So the reason you might be struggling getting into a home in 2026 is not because of your credit. It's not because of your income. It may have a little bit to do with what's happening 7,000 miles away on foreign territory where war is escalating, and it is causing pressure on all the economy here, but also regionally and locally. And that might be the reason why. Let me show you a little bit of data that helps you connect the puzzle pieces here. So I'm going to take you through a spot on my website here where we've got a little article that we've created from the Iran war, Polk County housing market. And so when we started this journey, we called this the 3 summers of disruption here. And basically in summer of 2023, Iran drone and proxies attack and escalate, causing this friction with Israel. We have this October 7th issue that happened that creates a little bit more of a regional war that expands. Listen, anytime there's uncertainty in the marketplace, that definitely is something that scares people and causes nervousness. And so you may not know, but every year we go through what's called a spring selling season. People get their tax returns. Folks are looking at moving during the summer because that's when their kids are out of school. So if they're going to be transitioning from different areas, they like to have that summertime break to make sure that they can move well. So a lot of the bulk of moving happens kind of between April, May, June, July, and kind of ends around August. That's really where we get a bulk of a lot of the sales here, pretty much across the country for most of us, but definitely in the South regions, we see a lot of that. So these 3 summers of disruptions is kind of what has been going on. So, you know, every year there's been a little bit of an issue, sometime early spring or summer, where there's been an issue, right? So in summer of 24, Iran direct strike on Israel. You know, this causes, once again, the rates and the oil are all connected. And that's one of the reasons why interest rates have been what they've been, right? So we know that if we can get some declining interest rates on the 30-year fixed, we could potentially see some momentum. And I really want to show you this chart below that is going to illustrate it perfectly. So check this out. So this chart right here is the best explanation generally of why prices have begun to fall. Once again, these are good things for buyers, but why the interest rates have held. We can see back in early 2021, we had interest rates under 3%, 2.97. Oh, the glory days of interest rates. And so as they begin to climb, just really because they've changed some of the policy around quantitative easing, we'll get into that later if you want to understand that, we begin to see that inventory rises because buyers begin to slow down. Now, I want to show you the normal bump that we see in the springtime. So here we are, October 22. We've got interest rates at 6.66. And even though interest rates come down a little bit, we see this retraction in the market where inventory lowers. That's just the normal buyer's glut where people from April, you know, to May to June, wherever we are here, July through the summertime, just buy more properties, right? So more properties come on the market. Interest rates begin to rise even more, up to 7.79% in October 23. And then we begin to have these conflicts once again during the summertime. And that holds interest rates because as the price of oil goes up, we got to make sure that affordability is maintained, right? And so there's this connection between inflation of oil prices and the need to hold the interest rates where it is so that we don't get continued inflation by driving down the interest rate. So anyway, long story short with that, you can see these cycles begin to stop during the summer times where we don't see the dips anymore, where buyers are chewing up the inventory like they used to, and mostly because these interest rates are just staying up. And we're hitting these peg time periods every summer where these Iranian conflicts just happen to cause buyers to sort of, you know, not be as engaged as they normally would be. And so there's a compounding effect to interest rates and the timing of these wars or these interactions in Iran that have just really caused a smoothing out of the interest rates and not a pull down of the markets. What we're used to is seeing kind of a wave every year. So now we see inventory at its highest in October of 25, over 10,000 listings available. And here's where it gets interesting, where you go, okay, we were beginning to feel the currents of change with interest rates. We start to get some some receding of pricing here. So 6.67, we get down to an interest rate of 6.17, and the buyers begin to re-enter the market earlier this year. So in fact, we've had a pretty good beginning of the year in terms of the process until the Iran war happened. So you're going to see this chart as it expands throughout the year, where it's going to be very similar to what it was over these past few years, because we're not getting that springtime bump. So we can dial in a little bit closer and actually see a graph that shows just the spring selling season momentum and the sales over certain blocks of time. So we're going to look at that real quick. And really, if we look here to the right of these charts, we have the spring buying season comparison, January through April. So that's the early spring. And really a lot of the momentum happens right after April, but this is a good sign to show us sort of the temperature of activity during these zones. So when we go back to 2021, 7,200 sales from that January to April time period. 22 goes down to 6,900. 23, 66, and we begin to get a little bit momentum heading upwards. 2024 of 7,000, and then back down 25, back down 26. So these are the kind of the telltales of just seeing how the momentum heading into the beginning of the year gets a little bit thwarted with the news of conflicts that are going on. So just something interesting to understand. So there's definitely other reasons on why the market is what it is. We have a lot of new construction in the area. Interest rates obviously are taking a toll on the consumer. And yet we can see here in this chart off to the right that, we can just take a good glimpse of the active listing inventory and just how it swells and moves with its own line here on the right. And, upwards of 11,000 total properties for sale. We saw this momentum to be pushed down early in 2026, and we will have a little bit of a flattening now as the inventory is, going to start to probably rise again due to our interest rate challenges. So overall, listen, the market's super complex, but this Iranian war definitely has a lot of impact on what's going on in the market. And I think it's worthy just to have a discussion about. So here's what is a great benefit though, is if you're a buyer in this market right now, you get to take advantage of these things. Okay. So with all the new construction, they're lowering their prices. The Iranian war is causing people to be less active in the consumer market to purchase. So as a buyer right now, there couldn't be honestly a better time to look at purchasing a home, even though the interest rates are a bit higher than they were at 2.97, which we'll probably never see those again unless the economy really struggles, which there's always good and bad with those things. With where they are right now, we could definitely believe that once the Iranian war reigns in, there's going to be a receding of interest rates to a lower price point. That means buyers will get back into the market, prices will begin to go up. So you are sitting right now in one of the sweetest spots that you could possibly sit as a buyer, because there is an amazing opportunity to make offers much below current prices, get seller concessions from sellers. And once you get the house of your dreams and you can move on to the future when rates go lower, you can refinance, get yourself in even a better situation financially. So if you were thinking about buying, I know some of these conflicts can cause some reluctancy to want to get out there and purchase, but I tell you what, there is no better time to buy than right now in this season, because you are in control of the inventory. There's so much of it. There's a lot to choose from, which is always a good thing as a buyer. And you get to negotiate in a very strong way, because sellers right now are a little bit more motivated than they've been in the past. So let's get together. If you don't know me, Chad Lindsey, feel free to text or to connect with me. You can always type home in the chat and we'll reach out to you and send you some information if you want to get connected. But listen, the time is now. If you're looking at buying when those interest rates go down and this conflict ends, you're going to see that inventory begin to go down, and there's going to be a lot more competition in the market. So, hey, look forward to checking in with you. Give me a call and we will get you a house here in Central Florida.